Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Spawn. And with us doing that, we're going to pick up with a two-part story arc called Black Cat Bones. Now, this storyline does introduce a brand new character in the world of Spawn comics. Here's the thing. Spawn's brand new character is not going to appear that much in our coverage over Spawn. And here's the reason why, because he only appears 5 times, and the first 2 appearances are in this book right here. So he's not really that important, but at the same time, I still want to make sure that I have this storyline covered just in case anybody is intrigued by it. But either way, we kind of pick up with Spawn just standing over a dead body while you have crowds of people gathering around the dead body. And we're kind of wondering like, okay, who is this person that had died earlier in front or nearby Spawn? And so now we have to jump back 2 days in the past. Now, when we do, we're kind of really focusing on the brand new character, and his name is Mark. Now, here's the thing about Mark, because Mark and his people, they have a very unique type of way of how they look at the world. Now, technically, him and his people are homeless, but they're able to use different types of buildings as their homes. These buildings are not being used by different companies or even used by the city. And so with that happening, they're technically abandoned and can be used by the homeless for shelter. Now, for Mark, he runs the entire crew, but he kind of feels like he's part of a world where you have all of these different people who are just weak. Now, if you have been following my coverage over the X-Men when it comes to Apocalypse, as we all know, he's really more of survival of the fittest. The strong may live, the weak may die, the strong may lead, the weak must follow. And so for Mark, he believes that him and his people, they're the people of the strong. And the reason why, because they're free. They're not being controlled by other people. But if you're somebody who works for a company, well, you're a slave. You're not strong. You are weak. But that is just one example. But here is another one, because you do have this young girl, Renee, walk up. Now, when it comes to Renee, she wants to join Mark's crew, and one of her friends is already part of Mark's crew. But when it comes to Renee, Mark can tell that she's fake, that she is a poser. And the reason why, because she's some girl who just ran away from her home and feel like that she should join this crew because this crew looks cool, but also she'll have the ability to be free-spirited. But for Mark, it's more of like, no, if you're going to join my crew, you must show me that you are strong, that you are not weak. And so he basically lets Cigarette rest on her arm. And he's kind of like, if you don't move as Cigarette burns, that tells me that you are strong. Now, unfortunately, she does move because it does burn her arm. She freaks out and he tells her, you have to leave. And the reason why? Because you are weak. But now we transition over to this young boy and his mother. Now, for the young boy, he does walk away from his mom as she tries her best to get the tickets for the movies. But as he walks away, he does get possessed by a demon. Not only a demon, but a character from hell. And that would be Mammon. Now, when it comes to Mammon, we saw him in our last video. And you had Spawn go out of his way to mark Mammon on the face. And Spawn told him Earth is now his realm. Like, y'all can have hell, y'all can have heaven, but Earth belongs to me. And so you have Mammon talk through the boy's body to say, listen, we know what you've been doing. We have been watching you, but just know sooner or later, we're going to get our payback for what you have done to me or what you have done to all of us. And so you didn't have the boy return back to normal. His mom comes and gets him and Spawn just walks away. Now, we are then able to kind of get a small look at Mark. And what I mean by that statement is that we see him in some kind of abandoned building where he's trying to do some kind of ritual. Now, this ritual will become very important for the second chapter of this storyline involving Spawn. But we do see him right now trying to do something very special when it comes to dark magic. Now, after all of that, we kind of see that Mark gained some kind of magical abilities. Now, we're not really told what kind of abilities he had gained here, but it does seem like he is able to do so many different types of things. Like, for example, when he goes over to this club that seems to be one of those illegal clubs, you do have Mark being able to just get inside without any type of clearance needed. But then on top of that, you didn't have Mark have a run-in with somebody else in the club. And the guy wanted to beat up Mark. But you have Mark being able to say, oh, look, you are kind of choking on something right now. There's something in your throat. And so for the guy, he believes there are a bunch of snakes right now just crawling out of his mouth. But in reality, they're not even there at all. But then you have Mark run into Renee. Now, for Mark, he kind of does apologize to Renee, but in reality, Mark does have a game plan here. He plans on using her for his own personal gain. And so you have Mark say, hey, I'm sorry, but listen, I had to make sure that you are not weak, that you are somebody who is actually strong. Now, after all of that, you didn't have Mark offer her some drugs. And of course, he takes her over to his place. Now, once she does begin to take the drugs, unfortunately, she does pass out just like that. And when she does wake back up, she realized that Mark had put her inside a cage. And here comes the big shocker. Not really a big shocker because I kind of saw this coming. But when it comes to Mark, he plans on using a ritual and use Renee as a sacrifice for this ritual. Now, his goal is to bind a hell spawn. And of course, you do have Spawn arrive, our Spawn. But our Spawn came there not because of the ritual. I mean, yes, he was there for the ritual, but more because he wanted to save Renee's life. And so once you do have our Spawn arrive, it does seem like in the possibility that he is trapped thanks to Mark's binding spell. But this is Mark saying, I want to sacrifice Renee. And here's the reason why, because I want to trade places with you, meaning that I want to become a hell spawn, but allow you the freedom of becoming a regular human again. Because to Mark, he believes that he'll fit right in when it comes to being part of hell. And so as we dive into the next chapter, it's really more a Spawn saying like, man, what he's offering is not really a bad deal, because you are now talking about the possibility of Al Simmons having the chance to have a normal life once again. He's kind of like, man, it's not a bad idea. But at the same time, he wants to make sure that Mark understands what he is trying to do, what he is trying to achieve. He said, listen, when it came to me, I was not given the chance to understand what it means to be a hellspawn, but let me show you what it means to be a hellspawn. Let me show you what it means to be part of hell. And so you have Spawn show Mark's his hell, because for everybody, hell is different. Now, for Spawn, it's him saying like, I want you to see what your hell is like. And what he's going to say right now is in your hell, compassion and also hope is a liability, because to you, those two things don't matter. But it's also Mark kind of thinking that is Spawn trying to talk him out of the idea of becoming a hell spawn or becoming part of hell. And the thing is, Spawn is trying to show him that you may believe that hell might be a great thing, or being a hell spawn might be a great thing. But this right here is what's waiting for you once you decide to join the dark side, hell side. Now for Mark, he says, why should I care? Because to him, he's dying. Because to him, he has a black lump in his body, and he believes that black lump is cancer, but also showing him that where compassion and hope is a liability, he's kind of like, yeah, I agree. So why in the world should I care? Like, you're trying your best to talk me out of it, but it's not working. And so the rest of this issue is really more of us seeing Spawn trying his best to show Mark like, you wanting to become part of hell is completely wrong. Like, yes, you are able to overcome the different parts you are seeing when it comes to your hell. But the problem is you're not fully understanding what it means to be in hell. Now, it's also Spawn wanting to teach Mark a lesson because, again, for Spawn, he wants everyone to know that he's no longer a pawn for anybody, that nobody is able to actually control him. And so when it comes to Mark, once he believes that he shows Spawn that he is capable of being part of hell, it's Spawn saying like, but you made a huge mistake. You believed in the possibility that you could control me, a hell spawn. But let me show you, let me tell you that no, you cannot control me. You cannot use me. And so then you have Spawn push Mark off the rooftop. And that kind of leads us back into the present day, where the book ends on the note where it's Mark being dead because Spawn had pushed him off the rooftop.